Hi guys, this is the second video of the week, so there's only a little bit of business at the very end, so scooch there if you fancy listening to that. I'm going to start here with filleting the jeans to get your fabric for your project. So now the thing to do, is to cut all along here, just under there, nothing too fancy or neat, just under there, all the way around. You can go in under here and just go slicey, slicey, slice. And I'm going to do it now. It feels really, really bold and brazen to cut up a piece of clothing that looks perfectly fine. Now, I'm doing this with one hand just to be quick about it. I need to set up a proper table for this. But do you see this business here? I just kind of slice out those. I'll show you now. Stop for a second. Now, there you go. I just held it with the other hand to give it a bit more strength in, to get the scissors in. But yeah, so basically you're making the best decision as you go along. Always. You'll always make something out of something, so I wouldn't worry about it. It's not for selling in the shop or anything like that. This is for making at home. So you will always be able to make, don't worry about chopping something up and thinking you're not going to be able to do it. You are going to be able to do it. Now, and see the way, just along there, it's a one-handed effort, so this is funny. So the way these are put on, it's kind of strange. See the way that's joined there? Often it's just joined where the stitching is, and then there's no extra little piece, but it doesn't matter. I just get in there anyway, underneath. Happens to be an extra bit, and just kind of cut the stitches so you're separating it from this part of the material. Now, so the waistband is off all the way around, and keep all your little bits and pieces nice and together. Don't start chopping up the parts that you think you're not going to need later, like, you know, cut into here too much or anything like that, because you might use that little area or that little tiny pocket you might attach to something else later. Some of these jeans have really nice little details on them that you can use afterwards. So then what I do is, this is, which let's see now why it looks like a toilet seat, but anyway, this is my husband made this for me after I made it. It's not even perfect, it's just very home done. I've been asked to do a template so that people can actually download it and that. So I never thought of that really, because I just kind of mull into things myself when I'm doing them for myself at home. I don't really need a perfect pattern, but other people would be more comfortable, I suppose, and it would save time, so I might get into that. But this is what I have for the moment. This is a piece of, I don't know, a bit of a plastic thing that my husband was able to use the jigsaw to go through, and he made the pattern so from the paper one that I had, which means I don't have to, that's for his head, so I don't have to do it new every time. So what I'm going to do is place it on here and estimate the width that I'm going to need. You see, that's the closed leg, so I need it needs to be able to be a little tiny bit outside of that. No, it doesn't, just pretty much the same size, exactly the same size. So it'll probably have to go up the leg a little bit, so I'll show you that now in 2 seconds. So when you're cutting up the seam from the bottom of the trousers, I chopped the very bottom part off, this little frayed bit, which would be the hem. Just cut across the bottom of the hem as you did the waistband, so you're left with a kind of a blunt edge, because you don't want to have that other piece. Well, you could if you choose to, but I choose not to for the moment anyhow. So I'm cutting up along this seam edge. You can go, if you like, on the inside, either wherever is handy. There isn't much benefit and it's trickier, so I'm just going to go up along the side nice and tidily. So now I've gone all the way to the top, so up the leg, up, follow up the seam all the way up to the bottom of the zip, and then just, you know, around the zip, as close to the zip as possible, so you have it all, and right up to the waistband. So now what you have is a nice big wide piece of material, and don't worry about the seam, because the seam looks really good in the middle of the hat, or even if it's not in the middle. So having that done, you just give yourself a little bit of room. Now place your piece down until you have just about enough width. So that's as low as it could go. As you see, if it went lower, it'd be out over the edge. So get it to a point where you think, okay, that looks okay. A bit of a seam on the edge that could make it a bit tricky, so I'm going to go up a little bit more if I can. Yeah, I can. There's plenty of room here. So tiny bit more just to get it off the seam. Seam at the edge could be tricky because I'm going to have to do stitching on that side, although it would be inner. But just make sure that you have the seam after the edge of the your piece, and then you're fine. And the other side could come down again. And look, if you have a pattern, just figure out which way, if you want the pattern to be, if you want it a particular way, you might turn it upside down or whatever. Now just remember when you're doing your pieces to mark which side is the top and the bottom. So I know by this L, size large, that it's going to be, this is the top. And so that makes it, what I'll do is I'll turn it upside down when I'm making the opposite side for this. So I'll need an equal and opposite side. I'm going to use the same material. So what I'll do is I'll use the other leg. I hope. See, can I use the bottom? It just depends. I need some for the sides as well, and I have to have long enough pieces for that, and a piece for the top. So I'll just have to play it by ear and see. So that's what you have to do. All right, I'll show you in a second. So now, keeping your pattern with the right side up, I know by that L, that's the right side up. So this will be the top of the brim. And when I'm using the same material for the bottom of the brim, I'll just flip this over so I have an equal and opposite shape, because this is slightly off because I did it by hand. If you've done it, I think just do it anyway. Yeah, because it could be slightly narrower or wider, depending on your pattern. If it's the same all over, then it doesn't matter. But mine is slightly different, so I'm just going to keep it really clear for myself. So I'm moving up the trouser instead of going down the leg for this one, because I want to keep enough material, because these are a slim leg. There isn't as much denim as there might be in a pair of straight jeans or something. So I am going to move up the body here. I'll avoid the pocket, but I'll move up, cut it there, and then try and get the same idea on the other side, on the other leg side, on the hip. That'll be the hip. And then I'll be able to I'll still have plenty left over for the sides on the lower part of the leg. So that's what I'm going to do. So now this is the good part, when you have all your pieces cut out. I think it always looks really easy at this point. Of course it does, because the work is done, the big work anyhow, the preparation. 2 pieces for the brim, 2 side pieces, and your top piece. And this lovely piece, which is the belt, or the waistband, which is gorgeous for the hatband for later. Really finishes it off nicely. And then just for that, you really only have to line, if you're using the same material for the top and the bottom of the brim, you only have to line the inner bucket, the part that goes on your head. So you just have to have 2 sides. I cut this off an old skirt, which I love, but it never fit me. I bought it in pennies to go on holidays one time, but it didn't fit me. So I don't like throwing that straight out. I love using material again. So I have 2 sides and then a little circle for the top, or you know what I mean, a little oval. And so they'll come together easy enough. And that's it. Right, so I want to show you this before the light fades. I've been trying to get a blog moving this morning, and it took much longer than I expected. So I have coffee in hand, and I want to get this video up today if I can, so that I can link to it in the blog, which is really necessary for today. So I'll just show you. I did this last night when I was at the fire. This is the inside of this. Sewed up the sides. You know, remember we were saying to do the bucket part of the hat first. So I did the 2 sides first, as you have seen in just one of the little pictures that I slipped in there. And then found the center of this, and that way, and put a tiny little, as in folded them in half, and tied a little kind of an indicator on both sides. I did the same with the 2 sides of the hat, just by folding them in 2 lengthways, or not lengthways, crossways. And then you can just give a little indicator here with a contrasting thread, and so then you can line it up when you've done the 2 sides, back to back, front to front, 2 ends. You can fold back the seams like that and sew them down later, which I like to do because it gives a really nice finish. You'll see it on the lining. This is actually the outer part. You'll see it on the lining because I have that more or less finished. And then you place this in, and this can be very tricky, and this can actually be quite much too big. It just depends. You're just trying to accommodate it into the space, but having this quite taut, so that when you turn it inside out, it's nice and flat, because it's this being the outer part. You don't want it kind of billowing up or billowing in, so you want it nice and taut. So I actually trimmed off a piece around the top there, having put it in the exact position I wanted. So what I did was I pinned it where I needed it to pin, just very close to the top, but not so close that it will fray. Like they say, 3/8 of an inch or half a 3/4 of a centimeter kind of size. And then depending on the material, and then what was I saying? Yeah, so I pinned it in place all the way around so that I could turn it inside out and just observe and just see was it in a good position, so that I could turn it back around again. You can do this by tacking as well, but you'll have to redo the sewing. So yeah, it was grand. So now I've sewn it in place with a little back stitch all around. You do it with a machine, you'll have it done in a flash, but I just like doing this stuff at night time. And I'm going to go down the side there. I've done it down the side already, have I? I'll have a look. Oh no, not on this. I'll show you now. That's the top. Haven't done this yet. I'll sit down and do that later. And this part, yeah, I've done that. Let me see, can I get it to focus? Anyway, you'll have seen that in a photograph earlier. I'm not even going to waste your time waiting for that. And the other side is done as well. So those two are finished. That's great. And that'll be the inside. That'll be the same as the other. So I just have to work on this now today, and we'll see. Can I show you before I put the ad? I mightn't put it up finished today, actually. I might just slow up and just get the whole thing moving and then perfect it later. I can be a bit of a stickler. All right, talk to you later. Bye, bye, bye. So here you go. This is the hat all pinned in place. Again, I'm very pleased with myself. There's that little stitch. I did a zigzag down there, which actually came out really nice. So I'll do that again. And I'll show you now how this was attached. So the brim was sewn face to face all around the outer edge and then turned inside out. So the stitching would have been in there. Inside out, and then attached to the edge of the hat, face to face, this face against the outer edge of the hat, the upper edge, the bit that shows to the sky. So those two edges. So headpiece upside down, and then you bring the brim down over it and you clip them all around here, really close to the top, as you can see, so that I can stitch along there by hand later. You can do it with a machine, of course, do it in a jiffy, but I'll do it watching the telly later on. And what I intend to do is as well, you just have to match it up. Remember we were saying I had the edge found on the center. I folded the whole thing lengthwise and found the center and put a little stitch there, and did the same with the seam. Well, the seam is there anyway to indicate. So the seam from the base, you match it up then with the little stitch that you would have there and there. And then so you attach it there at those pieces first, and then you come along and you do each quarter between. So it's easier. And then if you find that there's a little bit of a pucker like this, just pull the whole thing, apart with your two hands. I have my hand, I'm hand holding this now at the moment, but just to kind of pull all the material and just to try and get the pins into the right place. And then it's probably a sin in real terms, but it works fine for this project. And then later on, come along and sew along there. The other thing, a nice detail, I'm going to cut here for a second. Now the hat, right, another nice detail is, see, that's going to look lovely when it's all sewn really tight along there. The other nice detail is I've started here, back stitch all around here, because that's where the two sides of the stitching line are on the inside, so you can feel it in there. So I just like to kind of delineate that. You can stop it there, but what I do is I do concentric circles, or just a big swirl, about the same width apart all the way in. So just keep going around in a big spiral, or else just do a circle at the same level and then move in about the same distance again, and then do it again and again. So this is obviously much easier on the machine, but it gives a nice stiffness to this part of the hat. It gives you the ability to do that and for it to stay in place when you're wearing it. So yeah, so it's going to look nice, isn't it? It's nice. It has it. Like, I get a surprise every time these things come out because I'm not really a seamstress. I just do this for the crack. So I get a big buzz out of it, and my husband likes it. Oh, and one last defining thing, if I can find it. Yeah. So here's the belt. This was the waistband that we cut off earlier. See? And these, now I actually cut those off this piece, not off the other piece that I have, but this piece I actually had to cut these the way they were made. So I just folded them over, tied a knot in a double piece of thread, went through, up here, pulled it back down again, nice and tight, secured it. So that there, you could put a string around those if you really wanted. But basically I'm going to use this as the hat band. So this looks really nice, especially on this kind of thing, because it's got the denim look, and I've kept the button. Now I don't know exactly how I'm going to attach it. I'll probably show it on a subsequent blog post, but I'm going to get this video up today with any luck. But I'll show you this now, and I'll show you eventually an image of the other hat, the old hat that's well worn. It has a band around it like this. There you go. You can imagine how that might. Actually, I'm not really giving it much justice here, but you will see in a subsequent thing. I think I'll get the gist. It just gives it a nice end, a nice finish. I think you can get the gist. I'm not doing myself justice here, but there, that even looks nice there, right? So, good luck if you start a project like this. Just go for it. You can see from me, you'll find a way to manage. And I've tried it on as it is, even though there are pins there. I've tried it on. Oh, and I also have the, obviously the lining will go in there later as well. So what I'll do with the lining, if you're wondering, is I'll come fold that under, and then I'll attach it just beyond the stitching line with a little slip stitch or top stitch. Just something neat. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to come all the way through. Just nice and secure. And then there'll be a nice little cover over your stitching, and you won't have to do anything fandangled with this element. But keep this nice and neat, and it just keeps the rest of it. Keep it as neat as you can all the way along, and you'll find that it works out pretty well. So now, there you go. You'll forgive my hair. I've just washed it. But you get the gist. It's kind of cool, isn't it? Now, I'm not entirely sure about the band. It's quite thick, but I think it'll be better when I have it in place, and I can decide then. Well, Ed will decide whether it's going to stay. I won't bother. Ed can decide if that's my husband, if it'll be necessary or not. I think he likes it, so it'll just go nice and neatly along there, and I'll secure it in a few places. So there you go. All right. Thanks for watching. Hi, it's taken me a while to get the videos edited. So meanwhile, in the evenings, I've been doing a little bit of sewing. So last night I was going hell for leather. I did them nice and big. They don't need to be tight and small. They would be smaller if I did them on the machine, but I just did circles. They're not circles or ovals, obviously, but you get my meaning. And so it's looking good, isn't it? So now tonight, all I want to do is, I'm hoping I have time, is to go along here, to join these two pieces, and then I'll put in the lining. And I don't think I'll be able to show you this video, but I'll show it to you in the next video because I won't be able to help myself. Okay. Right, so. Whoa, I nearly forgot to do this part. Probably the more important part. Well, I don't know. It's the business end. Hooray! Welcome to the business end. Just a quick update now. I won't keep you long today. I managed to tidy up my labeling, my packaging and that for La Panda Designs jewellery line, and I created a few new stickers to replace the gnome stickers that we were using around Christmas time as freebies, and that was great. So I did a little bit of tidying in the craft room, and that was a little bit of an extra bit of work, but that's fine. Got the 2 blogs done yesterday, uploaded, great. Created a new blog, in fact, in the end. Remember we were talking about that. I did do a new blog, a separate blog in the end, because I want to keep adding into the business one ad hoc, regularly and ad hoc, and just to keep the thing flowing. So I divided it into a craft blog and the business blog. And so the two of them are listed in the main menu. So we'll see how that works. I think it should be easier. It's actually probably going to be easier. Yeah, so there you go. I could ramble on here forever and ever, but I will hold off till the next meeting. And meanwhile, just to say, I'm going to try and design a few Christmas cards. No, a few cards are not Christmas cards. And I see, can I get in the zone? I really want to sew today, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll do a little bit of social media as well. So yeah, there you go. That's where I'm at now today. So whatever you're doing, good luck with it, and keep your nose to the grindstone, but have plenty of breaks. And we'll chat to you next week. Thanks for watching.